Welcome to the Lockbox! Lockbox!
Welcome to the Lockbox! Lockbox! Hello guys, and welcome to episode 7 of the Lockbox. Today I have with me Anher, Tesseract, and Senilex. Hello guys.
Hey!
Today we'll be speaking about the newly released DLC 8. We've also got some genre news for you, and coming up later in the show, the one that you've all been waiting for, an interview with Cold Fuzion.
Dun dun dun!
So let's start on DLC 8, guys. What's been going on?
Yeah, DLC 8 came out for Legendary, didn't it, on Thursday?
It did.
And it comes out on the 3rd for everybody else, for Premium.
Bad luck, guys, we got it first, and it's great.
We're making all the money off the collections and the broker.
I sold a load yesterday. Made loads of money.
I've not even really bothered to look for many collections. I don't think because there's no feat attached to it, just styles, that it's like on my bottom of my to-do list for this DLC.
It's quite addictive though. I popped a radar and then I ran around the wastelands. I found loads of stuff. And I've got my Nightwing chest, the Protege style.
Which is very cool. It's got arm stripes, it's awesome.
Arm stripes.
I do like arm stripes.
So what are we thinking about DLC 8 now it's gone live?
There's a lot of little grindy feats. Some more grindy than others. There's one, not what I ordered, which we think we figured out how you get it, but it seems to take a very, very long time. And it's all just stuff like killing, so many of certain demons and things like that.
Mm.
There's not that many feats beyond the grindy ones. There's a couple of interesting ones.
So you only got 4 feats left to do in this DLC. I got
What
the
ones are
Multitude
they?
of Sins, where you gotta kill Jack, James, or Julia 17 times in the duos. And I'm close to that, probably got about another 2 or 3 runs of the duos. To 19 primeval ones, which is what you just talked about, not what I ordered. The Full House, where you gotta do the multiple bosses in the Ruined Cathedral duo. And then the High Hopes, which is the Exalted set. And this is where I have a big problem with this DLC.
Is it the replay badges?
Yeah. Never has a DLC had a carrot dangled in front of your face so much as this DLC. And I hate it for that. And there's so much luck involved with this DLC. Now, I think the work on this DLC has been great. It looks great. It's nice and spacious. The wastelands look awesome. And that. But when you actually break it down, there's not a huge amount to do. And it's going to get very boring very quick. Especially if you don't use replay badges. Well, it doesn't matter if you do or don't, it's going to get boring really quick. Because so much of it depends on luck. I mean, let's look at the Raven Bounty. Okay, that resets weekly. You kill Raven, and then you have a chance, which takes 2 minutes, and then you have a chance for a mark or a box. And if you open a box, well, it's not a box, it's like it's a bit of chitin, isn't it? And then you can select what you open a chitin, and then go to your journal, and then you can select, what bit of the gear you want, head, shoulders, chest. So I like it that you can select a bit of gear, but it's a weekly reset. So if you didn't reset that, if you didn't use any replay badges, how long do you think it would take you to get that full set, 8 bits drop in?
18 months.
Somebody worked it out. They said it was 3.5 months, I think.
And that is ridiculous. And it's not only that. That one I can kind of understand. That one I'll let go, maybe because I've already got that. But it's the Exalted set that I have the biggest problem with. And that's the set that you get at the end of the duos.
So just to clarify, each of the Exalted set and the Corrupted set you only get from these reward boxes, essentially. and it's not guaranteed that you get them. The corrupted set you get from doing the bounty. This is for heroes at least, I think it's flipped for the villains.
Yep.
The corrupted set you get from doing the Raven bounty, which resets weekly and costs 24 badges. So that's how you get the box from that one. And for
So
the
yeah,
Exalted set, you've got to do the 5 daily missions, kind of like the Home Turf one. And once you've done 5 of them, when you do the duo that's related to that one, you get an extra boss who, once you kill them, you will get your reward box.
but the trouble is, you open your reward box and you don't always get a bit of gear. You can get a chance to get a mark as well, and no gear. The same. I'd done 5 in each of the areas, the MV, Wrath, and Lust areas, and I went into the duos today, and killed the extra bosses, and I got a mark on each of those. And it's just that's going to take even longer to do than a Ravens, even if you do spend replay badges, because it's yeah, not happy.
I think the general idea seems to be that the drop rate of the styles in the boxes is about 1 in 3. And that would make sense looking at the fact that you've got these 3 daily missions and you've got 3 duos. So after 5 days, if you haven't reset it, if you've done them each day, you'll get 3 boxes and you're likely to get 1 style piece from that. So that's you getting, with luck on your side, that's 1 style piece every 5 days.
But you've got to go through all that work. You've got to do each of the area once a day. So at the end of the 5 days, you go into a duo and you think after that, you should be getting a gear. It shouldn't be down to luck that, you've done all that and all you get at the end of it is just a mark.
Yeah, it's a bit of a grind. We were, sort of the first day me and Ivy Bird reset one of them 5 times to go in and get one of these boxes. And I was lucky enough to get a style piece and he didn't. And that was when we first realised that you didn't guarantee to get the style. Now there is kind of a good point in that it's not, you don't get an item and you don't get the feet or the shoulders or the chest. You get to choose which bit you get. So you're never going to get a bit that you don't need.
I did that the other day as well. I ground all 5 missions and I got the quests for all 3 side bosses for the duos and ran through those. And out of my 3 boxes, I got 1 chit and I chose the Exalted headpiece. I thought, great, I'm going to get a halo to wear over the top of my head. And then I put it on and I've got a lovely halo, but then I've got this hooded mask type OMAC type thing that just doesn't go with the rest of my armour, so I was a bit disappointed with that. I just wanted the halo by itself.
I'm hoping that there's been such a good response on the halo idea. I think everybody thought that sounded really cool, that we might get that added. Personally, I think it'd be really good if we saw that as an accessory item, because the ability to have your own mask style or something as well as the halo would be really cool.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be, because the halo by itself looks good, but the mask not so much, especially for an Exalted set. It didn't look very heavenly. Apart from the halo, that is.
But yeah, so there's these really grindy feats that you can attempt to blitz through with replay badges, but resetting the daily missions costs 12 replay badges. So you're looking at 58 replay badges to get 5 resets on it. And then you do the duo, and you get the boss at the end of it. And then you get your box, and you get your style. I mean, I've been lucky enough with those boxes to get 2 styles from 2 boxes. But you could be just as unlucky and never see any of them, so...
I think what they should do, keep the Raven one, keep the Bounty Raven, keep that as the luck as it is, but I honestly think the 5 resets, because if you want to do 3 duos, that's 15 missions you got to do to get the free boss at the end. So it should all guarantee I think a bit of a gear drop, I think.
On the other hand, though, I mean, this is for us, we're only in this for the style. These bits of gear that you get from these boxes, they are combat rating 85, they are tier 5 level gear. So in some ways, that's going to be one of your cheapest ways to get a full tier 5 set, is to, reset the Raven Bounty 3 times per piece. And again, it's kind of luck's got to be with you, but yeah, that's definitely seems to be like the absolute fastest way to blitz through a tier 5 set.
But that's pay to win, though, isn't it?
It's pay to get tier 5 gear.
It's not the best gear available, so when it came out, I did the reset in total about 14, 15 times now, and I've got 3 pieces. So that'll tell you something about the odds. Whereas Sen, you've almost finished it, have you?
Yeah, I finished it this morning. It took me 35 goes on the Raven to complete it. Where another league mate, he managed to get all 8 bits dropped from Raven after 14 goes.
Yeah. I can't say I'm a fan of this DLC, probably because it's not designed to target me. We play at a certain level, whereas we can get through a Nexus in 20-25 minutes, get 10 marks, tier 5 gear drops in there, and you just carry on.
Speaking of drops, new loot system. I, for one, am very pleased about.
I don't know. Yes and no. Yesterday we ran quite a number of Nexuses, and I didn't get anything really apart from just 85 DPS stuff at the end. And then I joined a Pug Nexus at they were stuck on the last boss and needed a tank. Some random just asked me if I could jump in. I was feeling quite generous, so I thought, okay, why not? I thought, individual loot, I'll reset it just for the last boss. And we eventually done it, and I got Traces in time tank next, so I was happy with that. And it was just like typical, isn't it? You could do so many runs to try and get something, and it doesn't always work out. And then the moment you don't expect to really get anything, like you do.
It's less beneficial to leagues where actually having people that agree to run by loot rules would pass for other people to get stuff.
Exactly. I mean, if I'd have joined in that Pug Nexus run before this new loot thing come in, I probably wouldn't have reset it, because I thought, well,
you'd be terrified of losing out to
exactly.
DPS.
If something did
But
bring.
the issue is, though, mate, if it was working like the old system where you had one loot table, you would not have necessarily gotten the same end loot, because that one loot table will be populated with everything, and it would have been random. Whereas yours as individual, it's still random, but it gave you that item.
Yeah, there are definitely pros and cons, and personally, like, statistically speaking, in terms of seeing loot drop, they've bound to have made it so there's virtually no difference. Certainly in the alerts and things like that, you're getting 1 drop per boss each, as opposed to 1 drop per boss for the group. So it's just way better in terms of actually getting anything at all.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant as well. If you go on the marketplace, broker auction house, you're seeing what they call complex materials selling at 9,000 in-game cash per piece. Whereas now everyone's getting. Went through Nexus so many times yesterday that I've got 2 stacks of complex now. So the prices for buying stuff as simple materials and complex materials is now offset by the fact you get your own loot. You're going to have more plans, and it seems like a better all-round solution for everyone.
I mean, my first Nexus run with the new loot tables, I got my first exceptional recovery kit in about 3 months, which I'd seen them drop and just lost the roll on every time. And I ended up finishing the raid with 2 of them, and I got my first piece of Time Traveler style, which I hadn't gotten at all before, because I would pass on it for DPS if they needed it. And I would lose the roll if it was just a agreed roll with other people. So that was my first run with the new loot system. So that put me in with it.
Yeah, that speaks volumes, I think, about the benefit of that. I mean, like I said, I walked out with 2 stacks of complex materials. I got the 87 DPS Might neck. We got the what was the plan I gave you, Sen? I can't remember the name of it.
The dampening shield.
Yeah, expert. I got
Dampening shield expert.
Mike Cola 5 expert. You got the Traces in Time tank legs. I walked out with 3 exceptional kits, which are going for 120k on the broker, which doesn't sound a lot to some people on the American side, but for us it's an expensive piece. So it's all adding up, and it's going to be beneficial in the long term for people.
I was jammy enough to tank Nexus for the first time last night and get the 87 legs as well.
In all the content that I've run since the loot table has changed, I've got absolutely nothing beneficial to me at all, apart from the crap that I've been salvaging to get the complex. Like
my
Rob just
salvaging has gone up. I do like that because I've been grinding on those salvage.
But on top of that, though, for about at least a month, probably more than that, but definitely a month of running Nexus and Paradox, I have had absolutely nothing of use come to me. I'll occasionally get, a healer piece or a tank piece that everybody's passed, and it just ends up coming to me and I can salvage it. But before that, there was absolutely not one single bit that dropped from my weekly runs of these raids that I actually got and was an upgrade to me. And then, in one run, I got the feat and I got 2 exceptional recovery kits. So a month from now, if I haven't had anything of any use at all, I will be as well off as I was before, but I will have had a whole lot more salvage and or even just selling to the vendors for cash.
Yeah, exactly. I can't see it being a lost scenario at all for anyone.
There is, the con side being when you're farming styles. If they do filter this down to lower tiered content and you go looking for those rarer styles, before, if you had a group that would agree to pass on it for you, then you were more likely to get that one style. But again, it's the number of drops that you have. It's just psychologically, it seems bad when a healer gets a controller piece and you're like, oh, I really needed that piece. It wouldn't have dropped before. Don't worry about it.
Well, I get paranoid that my loot table is bugged, because this just used to happen to me in the vault all the time. I never got anything from the vault apart from old green styles that I'd already had. And now I go into this with the new loot table and I'm getting nothing again. I think, is something wrong with my loot table because I'm getting nothing at all? I'm sure it's just the fact that I haven't run as much content as other people. Like, the more you run it, the more chance you get of getting new gear. I'm sure it's that, but it does make you feel paranoid after a while if you don't get anything.
When was the last time you actually got something?
Something useful? I can't remember, really. Early on, when
Good couple of weeks back.
I'd say so. When the Tier 5 content first came out, we first started running Paradox and Nexus. I was quite lucky then. I got a few pieces that I needed.
DPS were quite lucky because, they had the chance to get the Traces in Time set and the chance to get the Time Traveler set. They had, twice the amount of stuff that the healers, tanks, and controllers did. So it's not that surprising that they were able to get, 87 pieces before anyone else. But recently, if you haven't actually had anything in the past couple of weeks from your runs, I think you should at least leave it a couple of weeks before saying that the new system doesn't work.
Yeah, the thing that I'm really missing out on at the moment is the exceptional recovery kits, because I've got everything else that I need to remod my new armour, but I just want the exceptional recovery kits as well, so I can actually get a chance of getting all of my exobytes back for each one I use.
And therein lies the benefit of the individual loot table. Not only do you have a chance of getting them, the market is going to be more saturated with them because everyone has, the potential of getting one in an instant. So there'll be more on sale. So instead of paying 120k as you are now, they might drop down to 50k in the coming weeks because there is so many of them now.
Or even better, they'll drop down to 5k. That's what I'm looking forward to.
We've kind of covered the bad points for me so far, except for the loot, of course. But you know, the replay badge it is very much a carrot. But at the same time, it's sort of achievable, unlike, you know, the Traces in Time set, which you're just kind of looking at them, but certainly before the individual loot tables, and you're just like, how long is it going to take us to actually get this stuff? But I am, at the moment at least, really enjoying the DLC. I mean, it's a really good storyline. I've been really looking forward to the Trigon storyline. It's the art it's just fantastic. Gotham Wastelands is absolutely gorgeous. I want them to release a demonic lair style and give you one of the iconic locations be a lair base in the Wastelands. That would just be really handy. The duos the duos take longer than the alert, which is a bit strange. They're all right. I mean, the Ruined Cathedral is my favourite. It's just the setup for that. There's the cool cam introduction video of it. It has the camera kind of zooms in on you as you run into this cathedral. It's an absolutely fantastic shot. It's the best cutscene thing that we've seen in the game. I just love it to bits. The other two, I mean, Nightstone, it's a bit boring. I haven't had any bother with that at all. It seems a bit slow. And the Tunnel of Lust is alright. But I really enjoy the Trigon Alert as well, although I think it's maybe a bit too quick to do. I mean, we do that in under 15 minutes.
The Nightstone duo, though, is a bit of a bitch when you go into that last room and you have to fight those groups of mobs.
Oh, I haven't had any issues with that whatsoever. I think everybody's just...
You're lucky then, aren't you?
I think
it depends
you should use...
in your partner. If you're in with a healer, it's alright. If you're going as 2 DPS, I think... It's just pros and cons, isn't it? Going, as I say, you're going with a healer, you know you got more survivability. You're going with 2 DPS, you know that things are going to go down quicker. You're going with a tank, again, you know you can take on more than you can chew, really.
I went in with Project the other night, and he's a controller, Project Angel, and we were discussing, we were like planning in advance exactly how we were going to do it. Right, I've got my supply drop, we've got this crystal over here which will give us heals. It does make you think a bit about how you're going to approach it, because you do get ganked as soon as you start fighting those mobs.
See, the first time I went in was with Ivybird, and the way that we've been running a lot of the stuff is we run in DPS gear, but in our roles. So I've been in controller role, he's been in healer role. And when we first went in, and neither of us had done this one before, we looked at them and said, that's an awful large number of enemies there. Do you think we should just leap in? Well, we'll have some fun. We'll just jump in and have a go, and then if it goes badly, we'll take them one at a time. And we jumped in, and I just spammed the crap out of Chronometric Emitter, which is the consumable plan that sets up one of the quantum power interactions. And it's an AoE stun. It does the anomaly style lift into the air stun. And it does about like 400 damage to everyone it hits. And when you use it in those mobs, you stun about 10 of them at the same time. And they stay stunned for about 3 seconds. And it's just, you know, what anything else that gets through that, you know, the Ivybird being in healer role has managed to just kind of top us up. We didn't have any issues at all. We thought, oh, that was a bit disappointing, actually.
I should say the reason that I was touching on the difficulty of fighting those mobs at the end of the Nightstone duo is because there's a feat associated with taking down both of those groups without dying. So I can see how it will be quite difficult for some people. It was difficult for me.
Is the feat not to do it within 1 minute of each other? So you have to take out the second group within 1 minute of the first group.
We did it the other night, and I'm sure we took longer than a minute to take down both groups, because we were standing back and waiting for the our supply drops to ring you and our orbitals. And
see, I didn't even check. We just kind of got it. I'll double check. Because there's a feat for doing the whole duo without getting knocked out.
Yeah, that's no penalty box.
And yeah, there's a feat for defeating the second group within 1 minute of defeating the first group.
So
it's two
yeah, that's no waiting.
Must have got the one for completing it without dying.
So
it is quite fun though to jump in there and just like smash the crap out of everything.
Yeah, the no waiting one,
satisfying.
you can take out the first group as slow as you like. It's when the last enemy of the first group dies, you then have 1 minute to take out the second group.
It's always handy when you take on the first group then to just leave a few of the civilians alive and just work on the second group, nuke them down, then go back across to kill the remaining one or two civilians alive. Easiest way to get that feat.
It's just the way that when you jump in, the demons sort of like jump on you and like continually block break you.
You get
That's what I
stunned
found.
if you get juggled. That's the sort of the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
But as I say, my favourite thing is just these chronometric emitter consumables, which are just absolutely fantastic.
I'm going to try those out.
You should. There's a plan in the broker for about 10k at the moment.
I've got the plan, I think, already, but I haven't used it in any content that I've done. Anyway, DLC 8. Are we giving it a thumbs up?
I'm giving it a thumbs up.
I'm giving it a thumbs up.
I'm not so sure. I just think it's light on content. It's
I would agree with that.
pretty. It's some of it is well executed, but it's very light on content, and it'll get very old very fast. At the moment, because it's new, everyone is like, "Oh yeah, brilliant, best DLC." But give it a week or two, very old very fast.
I do like that the alert is short, although again, as I say, I feel like it's maybe a bit too short. But having, we're kind of used to the lower level alerts taking like 10-15 minutes these days, or not even that. But with the tier 5 ops taking half an hour, it's nice to be able to get sort of the decent gear and the decent marks for not having to put in half an hour of your time.
I think they missed a massive trick with Trigon at the end, though. I think that could have been really fantastic if you was actually able to fight him.
I remain hopeful that this means that we're going to get a 3-part Trigon DLC. I kind of want Trigon to be a massive multi-raid bounty that spawns every hour in Metropolis or something like that.
That would be
cool. Really cool.
I'm 50-50 on the DLC. It's visuals and so forth are never in the question. They're always quality, but the content's thin. It's not a DLC designed for players like myself or us. We don't play at the level that the other players in the game will benefit from this. So whereas we're getting through it in 12-15 minutes, I'm sure there are players who are getting together and taking half an hour to 45 minutes. It's just the nature of the DLC.
I don't know, because you obviously mostly just stick to your main character. You've not bothered with alts. This DLC has really been the revitalization of alts. As I say, you can blitz through to get tier 5 gear from these Raven bounties with just replay badges. The alert drops really decent gear. You get 85 weapon at the end of it. It comes up as 84 when it's unattuned, and switches to 85 when you've actually equipped it. So I'm not sure what that's about.
Apart from the content, I really hope this is the shape of things to come. The visuals and the even the small details they've put in, being able to speak to Superboy and the others as they fly around.
The game has always been really good at that, but there's just so much of it in this DLC. It's just, the little conversation that you can track Titans, having the Titans and the Fearsome Five as groups that show up in things. It's the kind of the little touches that the game's been really good at, but this DLC has been so full of. Personally, I think the kind of the art style thing, or more to point, the new content, new rooms, is an absolute breath of fresh air. Like, as I say, I keep saying the Ruined Cathedral is my favourite of the duos, and it's just purely because it's a brand new area. It looks phenomenal, and it's been almost years since we've seen new content to this standard. I loved the alternate Metropolis and Gotham in Origin Crisis, but they were just reskinned Metropolis and Gotham. Paradox Wave and Nexus of Reality, they're really boring rooms. There's some interesting stuff going on in Paradox Wave, but you just get stuck in those tunnels, and it's boring as hell. Nexus of Reality is just a cave. I mean, the final boss room looks pretty cool, but it's just one room. So these new duos and the alert is like actually new, not repurposed content. It's not that same factory room that you've used half a dozen times already. It was just really, really good to see something that I've not seen before. So for me, that's been a massive, massive plus, and it shouldn't really be as refreshing. But as I say, it's been so many DLCs of repurposed content.
Before we do, I think we'd be remiss if we don't mention Celestial in conjunction with that.
Oh yeah.
None of us in here have used it so far, I think. Don't know about you guys if you've made a character for it.
Nope.
So the Expo, we can't really talk in great detail about it, but so far it gets a general approval. I think it's really visually impressive. The powers, when they get pulled off, you're impressed by what you see. Can't really mention the damage and healing though. We've not really had many people turn to it in League so far, I think, have we? A couple of people have used it.
We've had about 5 people, I think.
We've I mean we've had a few players who's I think it's a power set which is it's not too overpowered in one regard or another. I think it's a well balanced power set for each of its purposes as healing and as DPS.
Cool. I think we'll have videos going up in short time about point of views from Celestial in both healing and DPS, so stay tuned for those.
Yeah, I believe there's a Celestial solo Nexus run already up on our channel.
Yes, it is.
Let's move on to some genre stuff then. I've got some news.
It was do.
Let's talk about Batman vs Superman.
Okay, first of all, I hope it's never going to be called that because I'll never go see it if it does.
I'm sure it'll have a snappier title, but that's going to be the basic premise of the movie, I believe.
Because I think it's been recently quite common to not actually use the name of the superheroes in the titles. I mean, outside of Batman Begins, then you had The Dark Knight, and then Man of Steel. It's just they're avoiding using titles with names of characters.
Well, touching on that, we'll come to the first big news about the announcement that Ben Affleck is going to be Batman. What are we thinking about this?
Quite looking forward to it. I think he's a good actor. His previous few movies been really good. Argo was really good, and The Town, he was really good in that as well. And he is a strong actor. I know he hasn't always made good movies and that, but his acting ability is top notch in my opinion.
I agree.
People seem to have forgotten that he has made good movies.
He's a strong actor and he's a really strong director. He's an Oscar winner now, isn't he, for Argo?
Yep.
And I think there's been a lot of fan hate towards his appointment as the Man of Steel, and I think there's still the stigma of him playing Daredevil attached, which I think is scaring a lot of people.
There is, but there's also, his recent acting work, and Argo, for instance. How many comic book fans do you think have actually seen Argo? I mean, how many of these people that are going absolutely nuts about Ben Affleck being Batman, how many of them do you actually reckon have seen any of the movies he's made recently? Because I know I haven't.
I think most of them are just thinking, oh, Ben Affleck was Daredevil. He's not done anything else since Daredevil.
He got a reputation for being a bit of a joke. About 10 years ago, he just made a series of bad movies, and it's taken him the past 10 years to recover.
The Time's a really good movie. What he's in, I think he directed that one as well. But that was a really kind of character-driven movie. But he was really good in that.
I know Rob will have something to say, or Anna will have something to say about this. But how do you think that he will look in the cowl?
I was what I was going to say before you said that actually is a lot of people were saying, "Oh, he doesn't look like Batman," and I just don't fathom how people can say that when we're in the 21st century, where you can dye his hair, he can train in a certain manner to become this big burly guy. I can't remember his height exactly. He's a tall guy, Ben Affleck, as well, 6 foot something. So he's got the stature to be a Batman.
But what about his chin?
Is that important?
He's just got quite a big chin, isn't he?
I've seen the photoshops of the Daredevil outfit, turned into the Bat outfit, and I think it looks really good.
That's my only worry. I mean, I've got no doubt that he's a great actor. I think he'll be great in the role. But when you put the cowl on him, it's going to really grate on me if his chin doesn't look right. Because Batman's chin is really iconic, in my opinion.
Well, I found that as much as I liked Christian Bale as Batman, when you saw Batman in the daytime, he just looked ridiculous. He works from the shadows when you can't really see him properly.
Never know what they're going to do with the bat suit, how it will look this time. Maybe something quite radically different, like the Man of Steel, Superman suit was.
Well, I'm hoping that they go to the more traditional comic book style, maybe with the grey suit, dark grey suit with the black Batman symbol, rather than just all black like we've seen with Tim Burton's films and Christopher Nolan's Batman films. They really should do something different with the suit, I think.
I hope not dark grey. I don't like that. I don't like the classic kind of Batman.
Well, the thing is, the whole black look looks a bit silly.
I don't know. I like it.
It's just too. I don't know. It's just been done before.
Monotone.
It doesn't. Yeah. If you've ever seen, I don't know if any of you have ever seen a fan film called Dead End. It's a really famous fan film of Batman fighting aliens and predators. It's really well done, and the suit in that is just the traditional black cowl, black cape with the grey suit, the black Batman symbol on the chest. But that looks great. The guy in that looks great as Batman. I think they should do something like that. We'll put a link to Dead End underneath today's Lockbox.
Try and remember and check that out.
I do have some concerns though about this new film, because the big media speculation is there's going to be Superman versus Batman, and I hope that's not the main focus of the film. I just hope, obviously, I hope the film's going to be mainly about Superman. Batman's going to make an appearance. They may have a bit of a disagreement at some stage, but ultimately they join forces to defeat whoever the bad guy most likely elects or whatever in the film. That's the way I hope it's going to be played out, and not a big main focal point of Batman v Superman.
I think you'll have the main premise of the film as Batman coming in and saying, "Look, you really buggered up in Metropolis. Look at the mess you've made." And Superman's will like, "Well, I'm like super. I can't help it. If like somebody chucks me against a building, I'm going to break it." And I think there's going to be a bit of a spat there. Maybe Batman bringing Superman down a peg or two, using kryptonite, saying, "Look, you're not that super because I can do this to you. You better change your ways, Clark."
Zack Snyder is going to be Hellman, isn't he, again?
Yes. Given my not entirely good reaction to Man of Steel, I don't really care that much about this movie. I thought it was a terrible idea to do Batman vs Superman. If they go anywhere near the Dark Knight Returns material, it's just an absolutely awful idea to do that. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's way more foreboding for me than the casting Ben Affleck as Batman. So yeah, I think as soon as they announced Batman vs Superman, that was basically as low as my expectations could go.
Leading on from the appointment of Ben Affleck, there's some other news that Detroit is going to be used as the basis for Gotham City in the new film. And if anybody's been following the news recently, Detroit has been declared bankrupt. It's a very, very run-down city. It used to be like the home of car manufacture for like one of the biggest industrial cities in America. But I think it's a good appointment. It's very, very old America, very traditional, very industrial. But I believe that they're offering a lot of tax breaks for the use of Detroit, which will help them get out of the mess that they're in at the moment. Other news, there's been a source that's claimed that we will see kryptonite in the new movie, and that the meteorite crash scene will be filmed in Morocco. I don't know what else to say about this really, because kryptonite was very much shied away from in the Man of Steel movie. There was no mention of it whatsoever, but it looks like we'll be seeing some sort of reference to it in the new movie.
Well,
and I'm guessing
Man of Steel was doing this sort of slow introduction to mythology of Superman. You know, he didn't start with all of his powers, you saw him developing them. And, you know, introducing kryptonite. They didn't need kryptonite in the first film. He was fighting against other Kryptonians. So he's on a level playing field. Kryptonite is only introduced when you want to bring Superman down to human level.
Yeah, which I expect is going to be a pivotal point in the second movie if Batman's going to get his hands on a piece of it, or Lex Luthor, who is rumoured to be one of the main villains in the next movie.
Has he been officially cast yet, or is it still just rumours?
I think it's all just like fan rumour and hope, but I don't think you can have, even though he's been overused in the movies, I don't think you can have Superman movies without Lex Luthor. He was referenced in the first movie. You see some of the carnage in the background in Metropolis, LexCorp Towers and stuff, so I think that was like a major hint as to who we were going to be seeing.
I've always felt that they should do a slow build for the Lex plot as well. You know, don't have him be the villain in the movie. Have him be there and clearly be up to something, but you know, Superman not really figuring out that he's the one behind everything until, you know, a couple of movies down the line.
Still major rumours, and these are rumours at the moment because I keep seeing conflicting sources of these rumours, that Bryan Cranston is going to be playing Lex Luthor, but apparently one rumour is that he's been signed on for a 6-movie deal to play Lex Luthor, but he's apparently saying no, he's not. He's not been approached about it or anything yet. But that could all be hearsay. He could be just leading people off the scent, but still my first choice to play Lex Luthor in any Superman film. I think we spoke about him in the last Lockbox. He's great in Breaking Bad, and I can see why so many people are touting him to play Lex Luthor. One of the main reasons, I think, is because in Breaking Bad he shaves his head. He's bald in Breaking Bad, and people associate Lex Luthor with bald. But he's a great actor. I want him to be Lex Luthor.
Before we move off the topic of Batman,
Yep.
who's been your favourite Batman in the movies? What's been done?
Michael Keaton.
Same here, Rob. I like Keaton.
I like Michael Keaton as well.
Funnily enough, when he was first cast as well, I mean, the internet wasn't what it is today, but there were people who were so against him being Batman, and turns out he was possibly, or if not the best.
Yeah, because he was quite seen as kind of a comedy actor, really, and they were like, why are they playing someone who's mainly known as for comedy roles as Batman.
He played a good Batman and a Bruce Wayne as well.
Yeah,
I really liked
Both
his
sides of the
Bruce
same
Wayne.
coin.
He always looked like he was kind of troubled in kind of some way, with this dark kind of past.
Whereas with Christian Bale, he played a good Batman, but in my opinion, not so much a good Bruce Wayne.
played a decent Batman.
decent. He had the voice. He had the growl. What about George Clooney?
Oh god.
Get out.
Get out of here right now.
He's the Batman we deserve, but not the one that we needed.
I have
What
some other news.
Then? Yeah, just about that. What else have you got for us, Flame?
There's loads of new details coming out about X-Men: The Days of Future Past, the new X-Men movie, and I'm quite excited about this because I like what they're doing with the. It's basically a reboot of the X-Men universe, and it's set. Well, the first one was set in the 60s, and the second movie, Days of Future Past, is going to be moving on to the 70s. And if you've seen any of the set photos that have been tweeted, you'll see, I think, Logan, Wolverine, and Professor X and Beast, and they're in very much typical 70s dress with the flares and the long collars and stuff. But other news leading on from that is that there's going to be a reboot of the Fantastic Four movie. Fantastic Four is going to get a new franchise, and it's going to be directed by the guy that did the movie Chronicle. But
Have they not made a really strange announcement about the Fantastic Four movie and the X-Men movies being set in the same universe?
Yeah, I was leading on to that the Fantastic Four and the X-Men will be set in the same universe. They're going to be crossing over.
They're not actually crossing over, they've just said that they're in the same universe.
Well, eventually I think the plan is to have the Fantastic Four feature in an X-Men film or vice versa. And something I was reading last night is that the Fantastic Four, they're going to be rewriting the origin for them. Whereas you had them originally going up into space, getting infected by cosmic radiation, then developing their powers, the Fantastic Four may actually start off as mutants themselves. And that's how they're going to be crossing over with the X-Men. I think this is going to be quite controversial for a lot of fans of the Fantastic Four. But I think a lot of directors are trying to move away from the fact that radiation as a source of people's superpowers has been overused in the Marvel Universe. Because you've got the Hulk, his original origin, his powers created by radiation, gamma radiation, Spider-Man bitten by a radioactive spider, and Fantastic Four themselves getting infected by cosmic radiation. I think they just want to make everyone mutants.
I have this issue with the Marvel Universe, though, that when you've got the mutants and the sort of the X-Men universe mythology and the issues that come with that, you know, the equal rights for mutants plot lines that they deal with, which are all interesting storylines and good for exploring various issues. But when you put those in the same universe as people like the Fantastic Four, who are widely accepted as being, you know, heroes.
Human.
Human, but, you know, they're heroes, they don't get the same kind of crap that the X-Men get, dealing with, you know, equal rights or anything like that. It's never the same thing, and does it really matter what the origin of the powers is if, you know, Fantastic Four are walking around with the same kinds of abilities that mutants walk around with? And it just never made sense to me, so I don't know if they're going to deal with that at all, or if the Fantastic Four, they're just going to say that they're mutants and then but there's not going to be any issues with it. I don't know.
I don't know. There's always going to be some fan hate towards it if their origins. I mean, basically their origin has always been that they've gone up in a space rocket to study stuff in space and then been bombarded with cosmic radiation. I don't know how they can rewrite the origin. Are they not going to go up into space? Are they just going to be on Earth and mutate into the Fantastic Four? I don't know. Controversial.
The original movies were terrible, but I actually quite enjoyed them.
They were very popcorn, I would say. But hopefully we're going to see a proper Galactus with the new Fantastic Four movie. I don't think there's a lot of information out there about Fantastic Four at the moment because it's not in production yet, but there's so much that they could do with the Fantastic Four.
Have you got any other news for us?
Yeah. Do we want to carry on with some more genre news?
Feel free.
Star Wars Episode 7. There's been some rumoured casting choices. Two of these are Alex Pettifer and Rachel Hurd-Wood are meant to be up for roles. Rachel Hurd-Wood is probably most known for playing Wendy in the Peter Pan movie about 10 years ago.
I remember that.
And Alex Pettifer will probably mostly be known from being in I Am Number 4, a movie from a few years ago.
That was awful.
I haven't seen that. But that's from a series of tween books, I believe. Alex Pettifer has apparently read for the role of Luke Skywalker's son, and Rachel Hurd-Wood has apparently read for the role of Han Solo and Princess Leia's daughter. But what I don't get with if Alex Pettifer has read for the role of Luke Skywalker's son, in the expanding universe, that would be Ben Skywalker, and Ben Skywalker is younger than Luke and Leia's children. So,
I would take that as a good sign that they're not being tied down by extended universe
yeah,
fanon.
it's difficult because there's so much expanded universe stuff out there, and I think that they've done really well with all the books and the comics and other stuff they've done with the expanding universe, and I don't know how that's going to tie up with the new movies.
Well, it's got to be just its own thing. You can't make movies the size, the scale, the budget of Star Wars and have to tie in with the expanded universe.
Yeah.
You can't be restricted to that. And if people get annoyed at that, well, I mean, you just kind of hand wave it like they did the Star Trek stuff. You know, it's its own universe, alternate reality, whatever.
Yeah. I think whatever happens, it's going to be absolutely amazing and brilliant, and people are going to love it.
You would say that.
And I think Disney, it's going to be really done well because Disney are overseeing it all. I think taking it out of the creative control of George Lucas was going to be a massive boon to the new Star Wars movies. But I suppose we'll just have to wait and see. I believe that they start filming at the beginning of next year for release in late 2015, so expect to see a lot more concrete evidence of stuff that's going on in the months coming up. Anyway, that's about all that I've got to speak about, unless you guys have got anything else to add.
Well,
no, that's all good.
I just finished watching Continuum Season 2 last night, which is this sci-fi show. It's Canadian. It's about time travel. It's really, really good. It gets there's only 13 episodes per season. In the mid-season episodes are a bit episode of the week and you're not quite sure what's going on. But the start and the ends of the seasons are really, really fantastic. So I highly recommend people check that out.
I will check it out. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I haven't actually seen any of them yet.
Because it's a Vancouver-based set there, I presume it's also filmed there. You spot the actor from other Canadian filmed TV shows, so there's a couple of Stargate alumni in it.
So that's got to be a bit of a fan draw there. Anyway, coming up almost immediately, we have the interview a lot of you have been waiting for. Cold Fuzion, Ice Tank Supreme. Shall we drag him in?
Let's.
Hello, Cold Fuzion.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us today. We're going to grill you now.
Okay.
This is an interview that a lot of people have been asking for. When we posted the Lockbox before, a lot of people have asked.
Yeah, I think there was like 2 or 3 people wanting it, and I thought we'd
And the
appease
rest,
them.
and the rest didn't want you. Okay, let's start with standard question. What made you start playing DC Universe Online?
I've always been a superhero fan, and when I heard DCUO was coming out and during the beta stages, I decided to buy the game. I like the idea of making your own superhero and doing your own storyline basically with a mentor. So it sounded pretty cool.
Nice. Now you're traditionally known as a tank now, but you played some other power sets before. You had some other characters that are probably not as well known as Cold Fuzion.
In the beginning of the game, I had a fire DPS called Eclipse. I was originally I was going to be a tank, but I decided to go DPS. But I wasn't really happy with it, and plus fire tanks were looked down upon during the early stages of the game, and people were asking for ice tanks all the time. Apart from that character, I also had a couple of healers as well, and a controller. So they're not very. I wasn't very active with them, but I did get around to playing the majority of the power sets on launch. Yeah.
So why did you stick with tank really as your main? What made you choose that?
I just enjoyed it a lot. I like the responsibility of leading the raid. Making sure that I clean up all the ads and supporting the group in DPS healing and controlling. So just to make it that bit easier to get through. So yeah, I played like a tank type role on other games as well. So so I think it was fitting.
Cool.
You've played all of the tank power sets now, haven't you?
Yeah.
Kind of putting aside capability of them in the highest tier of content, which is your favourite playstyle wise?
In terms of playstyle, I think it would have to be Earth. I love the mechanics of it, and I think overall, I think it's a more rewarding power set. It's definitely the most difficult power set of the 3. Where you have to work to get your damage mitigation up, and I also like the juggling effects of the powers. So it's a combination of fire and ice, and I mean at the moment, its current moment in time, it's not very good in Nexus or Paradox, but hopefully I may go back to that in the future, and give it a go.
Have you attempted Nexus or Paradox as your Earth tank?
No, I haven't, but I do want to, definitely. So, looking forward to it actually.
How do you think your reputation in DC took off? Why do you think you're so recognisable?
To be honest with you, I think the only way I think I'm more recognisable is in the videos, the majority of videos we've done in the past. We was very active in the PC forums before the merge with the PS3, and I was always the majority of the time I was the one always recording from the tank point of view, if nobody else was. So I think just people just became well known with me and associated me with Odyssey in the early days. So I think that's mainly it, really.
There's also, there's only one tank in a raid.
Yeah.
If a raid succeeds and there's 2 healers, you could say, oh well, maybe it was one of the healers, maybe it was the other one. But when there's only one tank, that one tank has to be on the ball. Yeah,
definitely. You gotta have if it's a new raid and you're not familiar with the mechanics, you've got to be concentrating 100% of the time. It's although it's a lot of pressure on the one tank, and when the tank makes a mistake, it tends to fall apart. The rest of the group tends to fall down, but I think that's why I'm kind of hoping in the future that they introduce content where they would allow two tanks to work together. I mean, initially I was working with Sen in Nexus, and I really liked the idea. I really enjoyed it. But as obviously as the gear progressed, as we got our full T5, it went back to the standard one tank, and yeah, so it requires a lot of experience if you're going to be doing high-end content solo tank, definitely.
Another part of your recognizability, would you say that might come from the fact you've got character on the USPC server as well?
Possibly, yeah. I've got a lot of I get on with a lot of people on the US side. My US character is called Non-Entity. I couldn't take Cold Fuzion because it was already taken.
What?
Yeah, it was already taken by somebody. And I do speak to a lot of leagues over there as well, and I did for a first year and a half try and promote Odyssey over there as well, and yeah, I think that also could have added towards that as well.
So, touching on what you were just saying about the dual tank scenario, is that something that you'd definitely like to see in the future?
Yeah, like just to add more to that. Yeah, definitely. I like the idea of two tanks in a raid. I just think it promotes a lot of scenarios that could split up the group, the team working together. I don't know, in separate corridors with different mechanics, you know, like in Phase 2 where they split up and they've got to fight the sub bosses and they've got to fight the two sentinels or whatever they are in Nexus. You know, I like that idea, definitely, but I would like the mechanics to be a bit more difficult, you know, so it promotes a lot more teamwork, you know, and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely I would like to see that.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea. I've seen it done really well in other games.
Yeah.
Where you really specifically do need two tanks.
Yeah.
Otherwise it can't be done. I think that'd be something that'd be really rewarding for DC players if that was to come up in the future.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot in Star Wars: The Old Republic. I've watched how two tanks can work together, and it's just fantastic. I really like that idea. So, like I say, I'm hoping to see that in the future, definitely.
Cool.
Looking back at your history in the game, then, how did you happen to join Odyssey? Were you ever in any other leagues?
Yeah, I was in quite a few actually. Well, when I first joined the game, I mean, DCUO was my first MMO. I didn't understand the concept of a league, but when I eventually joined one, well, the concept of a league in an MMO, when I eventually joined one, I joined a league called, I think it was a League of Infinia. I actually joined it with Rob, Anna, and that was my first league. It was just a starter league. We did out of caverns, like, as our first raid, and to be fair, we didn't even get past the first boss. It was a absolute disaster, but I did learn a lot, and I realised that you know, you had to, in order to progress in the game, you had to get with the right people. So I left that league and I joined the Defenders, where Flame was in there. So was Mitchell. Yeah, so I joined the Defenders, and I started clearing some of the content, some of the raids, Kandak, out of caverns, and I learned a lot as well from different players. Zipperman was running that league at the time. He's now in Odyssey. But I actually learned a lot from him, which I can't believe, because
none of us can.
And he taught me about, like, you know, the roles and how they affect the raid and stuff like that. And yeah, so, you know, it was a bit of a unique experience there, because that's where I learned probably the basics, the most of the game, and from there, when the Defenders was slowly falling apart, because people, the first month free was coming to an end now in DCUO, and everybody was leaving now. You know, there was a lot of bugs in their game and people weren't staying. I I started chatting to Thermal, and I ended up moving to Defiance. Already moved before me. I think he was in Silver Age before they changed to Defiance. But I had moved to Defiance with Thermal. Mitchell followed me with the rest of the defenders, and that's where we really started in Defiance, and we started making a bit of a name for ourselves. You know, four manning raids and stuff like that, and we eventually changed to Odyssey. That's basically it, I think.
So out of all of your time in DCUO, what would you say would have been your most proud achievement?
Well, there's been a lot. You know, we've done a lot of speed runs. We've tried to push the content as far as we can, but I think the one that sticks out more than anything is probably the night we cleared FOS 2, the speed run. We had put a lot of work into that, and we tactically we had figured it out right down to the avatar of meta, and when we got that, it was a fantastic tune. I think we were the first in the game to get it legitimately anyway, as far as I know. So yeah, that will always stand out.
I don't think anybody could have actually believed it on that night.
I know.
It was quite tense.
Yeah, it was. Poor Knox really got some of our anxiety thrown at him, but he was trying to help us, and we kind of like laid into him a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great moment. Nothing has really matched that since, because we didn't have mods, we didn't have color enhancers. We just had you know, your gear and colors and you know, your skill to deal with the raid, and I really enjoyed it.
I think as well, nothing has matched FOS 2 in terms of tactics required for it.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
definitely.
so many different bits, different tactics, different mechanics in FOS 2. Speedrun wise, you didn't just tank and spank it. You had to come up with loads of little bits to get you through these sections faster.
Yeah, I would contribute FOS 2 to making me a much better player. You know, my awareness of the tanking role really increased with that raid, and yeah, tactically it was fantastic. Paradox and Nexus are very good, but they don't come close to that raid. It was, even though it's can clear it now in like 20 minutes, it'll still always be my favourite raid out of a lot of them, definitely.
Nexus, at least, it seems, as I was saying, I was tanking it for the first time last night. You get to just sort of focus on the one boss. You don't really have to, except the last room when you've got a whole bunch of things happening.
Yeah.
But everything else leading up to that, you know, the corridors, there's nothing difficult in those first couple of boss rooms. It's, you know, just keep yourself alive. You don't have to pay that much attention, except maybe to pull the drone in the left-hand room.
That's it. It comes back again to being a DPS race, to getting the decks down as fast as you can, and based on gear and buffs and your skill points and that, really, I can't see anything really tactical about that, you know, other than grinding. But yeah, it's not challenging as it was when it first came out, because we didn't have the gear. We was getting one shot all over the place, weren't we? And
I think we was all flying about in the last room as well.
Yeah, it was just, we spent hours in there coming up with different tactics and all that, and
how do we avoid these balls?
Yeah, that was
good luck.
But yeah, definitely, FOS 2, it's a good step what they're doing with Paradox and Nexus. They're introducing something different, but I would like a raid that's definitely more tactical and more difficult to accomplish, definitely.
I think in FOS 2 you probably gave everyone the best bit of advice you could. Well, I still stick to this now, that I think you should avoid the balls and stick to the outer rim.
Yeah, I won't forget that.
It's a piece of advice that I'll always treasure.
Yeah.
So we've heard about your most proud achievement, but have you got anything particularly embarrassing that you've done you can think of?
Nothing that stands out, but I think you've just touched on one. When we was doing the last room, I was kind of shouting instructions, and I told everybody to stick to the outer rim and avoid the balls at the same time.
Yeah.
That one sticks out. That one sticks out. And we was doing a five-man Fast 2, best memories in there, and Psycho was getting his supercharge up, and I told him to instead of hitting me with his weapon, I told him to take it off and fist me. So it came out wrong. I meant to say punch me, get your supercharger, but it came out wrong, and everybody just happened to be in the chat at the same time. So that's also stuck around in Odyssey for us as long as I can remember. But it's just been the usual thing, like within embarrassment moments, like I went into a raid with PvP gear. When I started the game, I went into a raid rather than realising you needed 8 people, and I went into solo it, tried to, so it was just stuff like that, but nothing really embarrassing, no.
Ah. So, do you play any other games? I've heard you speak about FIFA quite a lot.
Oh, yeah,
in chat, but
I'm a huge football fan. I like to play FIFA and Football Manager. So I play them religiously when I'm not playing DCUO. Other than them, I enjoy playing Guild Wars. Guild Wars 2, that is. I've never played one, but I really enjoy playing that MMO. And I think I enjoy playing Terra as well when I can get around to playing it. So I really enjoy playing that when we was going through like a a bit of a period where we wasn't getting any content. Yeah. We wasn't getting any content in DCUO, so yeah. I tend just to stick to a couple of games, but when you've got really nothing else to do, you just try and experience new things.
Are there any games coming up that you're particularly looking forward to?
Apart from the football games, no. Not really. There's no other MMOs at the moment that I would really like to play. Well, you know how much time they take to invest in, so no, just looking forward to my football games, and that's it really.
Fantastic. So, have you got anything that you'd like to ask us?
Not really, but what's your most embarrassing moment, actually?
Mine?
Yeah.
That
goes for everybody else as well.
Can't think of anything specific, but I know that when I first started playing the game that didn't really know what skill points and stuff were for, so I'd have them in critical healing and breaking shackles and all over the place, apart from where they was meant to be as a DPS. And I didn't really have a clue what I was doing. And I'd be going through, I remember doing alerts with people, and the controller would be about 100 DPS behind me. I thought, oh, that's pretty good, I'm at top of the leaderboard by 100 points.
What about everybody else?
That's all it is, I think. When you first start and you're asking, I felt embarrassed about asking questions. It seems so obvious. Like, what stat should I focus on, might or precision? I didn't quite grasp that. The variances and what depends on what you're doing and things like that. I think that's what it was for me.
I wasn't particularly embarrassed by it at the time, but I did play from like level 10 upwards as a controller. I was playing with a friend. We were both playing gadgets, and when he hit level 10, it said you can enter the controller role. I thought, oh well, I guess I'll do that, and you play the damage role, and we'll kind of figure that out. And it wasn't until I was level 30 and I had run a couple of alerts before I actually looked up a guide and heard about this power over time thing.
Mm-hmm.
That would restore power to your group. Up until that point, we'd figured out instant power, but I hadn't figured out power over time, so I'd run a good couple of alerts without using that.
Definitely. Oh, cool. I mean, that's all I've got to ask, really. Don't have anything else.
So, does anybody else have anything they'd like to ask Cold Fuzion before we finish the interview?
Some people may not be aware, but Cold Fuzion is probably one of the longest-standing officers within the league. How have you embraced that role? I mean, what does it mean to you to be an officer of a league of Odyssey?
Well, I was when I was first made an officer when we formed into Odyssey. I was glad. It was a real responsibility. I mean, I know it's only a game, but it shows like a recognition of the effort you're putting into the league and that, and I embraced it really from the beginning. I was organising raids. I was trying to promote Odyssey the best way I could, and I feel like I've accomplished a lot within this role. I feel like I've done my bit to help Odyssey as much as I can and to support the league in anything that we do. So I've been officer just about the same time as Mitchell, even Flame before he left for a little bit. I've really enjoyed my time as an officer, definitely. I mean, I've had my moments where I've left the game and so forth, but I've always been glad to take the role again when I've come back, definitely.
Nice. So if that's everything,
That is.
All done.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us today, Cold Fuzion.
That was hardly painful at all.
That's no problem. No, I just wanted to get it out of the way. I just don't
Finally
like
got
interviews.
to speak to you.
Yeah, it's not like interviews.
Don't worry about it. You did well, my son.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
It's okay. And
I'm sure your interview will go down in the annals of Lockbox history. And we're back, guys. That was our interview with Cold Fuzion. Hope you enjoy it. And
he was much better behaved.
Yeah, he's usually really dirty and filthy in TeamSpeak, but he's been quite well behaved today. But that's all from us anyway for another edition of Lockbox episode 7. Glad you'll join us. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you've got any comments or questions, please let us know in the YouTube channel, or indeed if you want to be interviewed on the Lockbox, let us know and we'll try and arrange it. But for another Lockbox, I've been Flame Fury. I've been joined by Tess.
Hello.
And her and Sin. Thanks for joining us, and remember, kids, it ain't never rats.
Thank you.
Goodbye.